And your meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. So, hello,
Hi, Danielle.
Raven. Tonight we are talking with Raven in his studio about his amazing sculptures and other artwork that he has. And for the people out there that don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself and talk about what kind of artist you
are? My name is Raven Gleason. I am a local Minneapolis multimedia artist. I don't like to categorize myself as one thing right now. I kind of like to dabble, keep my options open.
But when you say that you're a multimedia artist, I think that probably what people know you the best for is like some of your giant sculptures that are kind of recycled materials that you found and kind of reconfigured them into kind of like giant kind of personas you have.
Yeah, I would say most people probably recognize me from the large darker sculptures that I've done. It's kind of how I was thrown into the scene with doing otherworldly arts is with Winona and Willow, and I'd never really shown a gallery setting type like that before. So yeah, it's easy to get attention when your stuff is 6 feet tall.
Right. And it's, there's a lot of craftsmanship and lots of other things that are going on there. Like you have electrical, you have a bunch of different types of hardware, and like, I mean, it's probably a little hard to explain. Can you show one piece for
us? Yeah, you want to take a look at evolution right now, and I can talk about it a little bit?
Let's do that.
I'll do that. I gotta turn on a couple lights. Hold with me. Hopefully that's a good shot. I'm gonna try and chime in on this other computer. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it turning and I can hear you. So,
okay.
Tell me what the material is.
What the material is? Well, it originally started out as all car parts, plastic and rubber recycled parts from the junkyard. I can think I have something right here. Yep, excuse me. Found some air intakes made of rubber. This kind of reminded me of that.
Nice.
That's kind of, when I seen it, I'm like, that's alien. That's eager right there. And I could see that all over, a sculpture or a mannequin or something like that. And that's what I ended up doing, was bringing a bunch of those home, cutting them up from various different cars, because I didn't know, I'd never done it before. I don't know if anybody had ever done it exactly like I had before. So I had no template. I didn't really look it up, and just had a 3/4 mannequin laying around that I had planned on doing some airbrushing on, and I cut these pieces up, and it took me 6 months, but it just all went together so beautifully that I fell in love with the artwork. It was difficult at times, but I just kept going at it.
So, like, I feel like I'm at an advantage over other people because I know you fairly well. Like, I know that like you have a history of like, doing mechanics for cars and like other types of things, and like you have this base knowledge of things that fit together well with other things. But like you actually became an artist later in life, and I'm not going to say that you haven't been a creative human and you haven't done artistic things, but it's something that like you don't have a formal education like in art school.
No.
You weren't really doing anything until like Did you say 2016?
Well, my education pretty much stopped at high school level art. You get to do one or two clay projects, one or two of everything, just to see what your strengths or weaknesses are. Mine were drawing at the time, and I was kind of encouraged by friends and some people that knew other people to get into tattooing, which I did do that. I had a very small time as an apprenticeship, and just ended up going on my own. And I did that like off and on for quite a few years. But when you're tattooing for other people, a lot of the times you're not creating your own art. I was still drawing stuff on the side for myself, but a lot of the time I spent drawing stuff for other people.
Mhm.
And as that type of an artist, it tends to get, art becomes work, and you just don't want to do it like that. So yeah, I dropped it for quite a few years, and then it wasn't until 2015 that I picked it back up, and I wasn't even sure about drawing anymore. I was like, I'll just take pictures, on my phone. And then, technology was all new to me back then. So I was like, well, what's this Photoshop stuff? And I just played around. I had fun with it. It was something to do. I had had a big change of life and I needed some stuff to fill time, you know. But as far as education, no, it was just the drawing background basically. But yeah,
Do you just because that I don't think people see it all the time unless they went to your solo show last year, but do you have one of your drawings near?
uh,
Haha, did I stump you?
yeah, it's probably like a whole bunch of books. No, I got you. I had some formal training when I was in nursery school in Japan. I got Crayon 101, and you can tell what kind of an artist. Here's some originals.
Very
Here's
nice.
like a portal.
Very good.
Here's a portal. Here's a portal to hell.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, some portal. See, I had some originals. Yeah, I do have one. Let me grab it real quick. It was in that show. It's a smaller piece, and a lot of the hand drawn stuff that I did there was out of my sketchbook that I forced myself. I wasn't going to erase anything, so a lot of it was pen drawing, and if I made a mistake, I made it work. See that one?
Awesome.
Yeah, and I was just encouraged by all my friends to frame them and have my own show. And I was like, get out of here. I was digging stuff up out before I met you. The photos and the Photoshop stuff that I had done before, which I made into big prints. And that was kind of like the beginning of getting into the art scene. But yeah, so there's an original.
I only wanted to like have you just like show it a little bit because it's interesting that like everything that you do across different medias like has a similar aesthetic with
Okay.
everything. And you can still tell it's yours, which like I think that's, really telling in a lot of artists, like, if where you start getting like those signature looks within all of your artwork. And like that's something that like, you came to being this like professional artist late in life, and like you had, and I hate to say it this way, a lot of disadvantage compared to a lot of other humans. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and so like there's there's things that like it takes a lot of courage for you to be able to be like, okay, I'm in a different point in my life and I'm moving forward and I want to do this thing, and you just went and did it.
Yeah.
um, but like do you ever feel like you like do you feel like you should have that you wanted to start sooner, or do you feel like you have more to learn? Like if you had to tell like somebody else who was like, screw it,
Oh,
quit my job and be an artist, Like, what could you tell them?
If uh, if they wanted to quit their job, I'd say keep your job and be an artist because then you can afford it. But no, if somebody you know asked me if they should go enjoy life and come back to art later in life, I'd say do it now. Take advantage of it. Enjoy the people around you that are experiencing the same things as you at the same time of life as you. I think it makes it more enjoyable, more comfortable, and you have a bigger support group. That was one of the biggest things that I had to overcome coming into the art scene was I didn't have anybody. Um, I had no idea. The people that were telling me to put my stuff out there again, they weren't artists. They were just friends. So when they when I finally decided to get those prints together that I was telling you about of my Photoshop stuff, I made them, I framed them, and then I had nothing to do with them. I didn't know what to do with them, and eventually I decided, well, I'm I'm at this age where opinions don't matter to me like they used to. I don't care. If I make a fool of myself, I'm fine. If I'm a dork, I'm fine. If I come off really cool, that's fine too. I don't really, it's not going to break me. I've already been broken enough. I'm at that point. I've worked hard in my life. I'm going to put my name out there, whether you like it or not. And if you don't, well, that's fine. You don't have to look at my stuff. So I went out to, what's that place? It's Athens. It's not Athens. It's a cafe out in Anoka there. I forget the name of it right offhand. It'll come back to me later. But anyway, I went in there and I seen that they had, some pencil drawings of different people's stuff and they had artwork. And I approached the gal working there and she said she'd give my card to her manager because I had a actual black and white card, my first one, very cool. and and they got back to me and I said, well, I have this many pieces. Never signed a contract for anything before in my life. And next thing it's a 30-day agreement. They get 60% if anything sells, and they'll have it up under their supervision, whatever, and they put it up. And I was like, very cool. First time for everything. I was on cloud nine, and it ended up staying up there like 6-7 months. It was just amazing. I was bringing the couple friends I had at the time there and telling everybody, go check it out, But it was hard to find places for me at the time because I didn't have a real formal training on the internet as far as working on a computer and stuff before 2015. If it wasn't putting data entry in for shipping and receiving, it was just turning it on to see my friends on Facebook. So marketing myself on the internet even was even finding stuff, where do I go? I'd go to the liquor store sometimes and just get, the city pages to see what was in there, or try and find it online. But, so I went through that period where I didn't know how to put myself out there. But I had friends with access to things like printing machines and graphics and stuff like that. So I'd get them to print me up a bunch of flyers, and I'd be like, here for my first show that I actually did for Pancakes and Booze, I must have made like 5,000 flyers thinking that I was that ambitious and still probably have a stack about that big. But I was out doing the old school way, like Paul was talking, and cold call. Can I put this here? Can I put this here? Here, give 10 to my friends, 20 to this guy. And for a 1-day show that I'd never shown before, and I was showing stuff that I wasn't comfortable with showing. And I didn't know how to approach people at the time, but I still wanted them to come and see my stuff. I wanted to see if they liked it as much as I thought it was cool, and that was tough, but it was all about hard work at first. So, you got to get over being awkward. You got to be comfortable in your skin. You got to be loose. You got to just, go in there with a good attitude. And if you get a bad attitude, well, that happens. Not everybody's going to be as receptive as the next guy, but you keep going. That's all.
when you mentioned before that first cafe that you had shown in, like, I don't think that people realize that, like, most of the time, like, what you as an artist, you have an agreement with, like, a gallery, a cafe, like a show and everything. And it ends up being a partnership.
Yeah.
And, um, and there's give and take on both sides from it. But like being somebody like you who was first coming into it, and you said the first thing that you said was out of the gate, they take 60%. What was your
Yeah.
impression of
I thought it was a lot. I talked to another person and they said for print work, because luckily the gal that printed my artwork, she who worked at Michael's, she was an artist also. And so she told me, no, that's pretty standard. And I was like, oh, okay. And at the time, I was getting really good deals on the prints. Michael's had some special Fuji machine in there, so even 60% was I was still making a little money on it, which I didn't sell a damn thing in 6 months, but you know, it doesn't matter. It was about the experience. I eventually, now to date, I've sold quite a few of those, so I'm okay with that. But when it comes to that type of thing where you're dealing with, that type of artwork, not a when it's an original, that I get leery about. And I know why galleries have to do it. Um, but when you start talking about stuff that's priced like mine, you know, I go into different places and I'm like, well, can you do this? And if it sells, we'll negotiate maybe a 10 or 20, something like that. Because we're talking thousands of dollars. And when one sells, then there's going to be more that sell. I'm not giving you 60% of 6 months of my life. That's not happening. That's kind of how I feel about it. They're my babies. Sad to say, but I do have other artwork that I don't have a problem with it. I think it's totally fair. But it's I think it's a little different. There's a different scale when you get stuff up into 4 or 5 figure stuff. Um, whether I ever get that, we'll see. You know.
So when you were talking about like you didn't sell the prints initially, like I see that happen a lot, like people for a show will make 2,000 prints of like
Mhm.
their, and then they, like, I think Paul was even talking about it in his artist conversation. He's like, I had to do something with all these extra prints because like he wanted to make, essentially all the money and time and effort that you put into making these prints, he was trying to make something. And um, even for myself, I feel like I've only made prints like since outside of college. I
Mhm.
and I make them in a run where like maybe I make like, it's probably been like 3 times. And like
Yeah.
people would be like, hey, are you gonna make a print of that? And I'm like, no, because excuse my language, but it's a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, and Paul's got the right idea. He gave me a great idea. Paper mache art, man. Recycle that money of yours. Get every penny out of it. Definitely.
But
Yeah, I do prints a different way now. Obviously, and at first I was talking about the actual original larger prints, the 16 by 24, 18 by 24s or whatever. I didn't even know about selling 8.5 by 11s till like my third show, and I was like, what are those? Why are people are getting money off those? I was like, you kidding me? What? So I felt like a real dumbass for not paying attention the first two times.
well, and that's kind of how we learn. We learn from other artists and see what they're doing,
Yep.
and it can happen. And I think from, at least from my stance, watching people buy stuff, I'm always really fascinated in what people are buying,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's to be fair, like even in my house, like I don't have a lot of wall space to have, you know, even like a 3 foot painting. But I used to love making 3 foot paintings when I was in college. And then, I ended up having to use like I had to get storage space, you know,
Hmm.
to find all of these things. And now you have all these large sculptures too that like they're like crowding you in all around you.
Isn't it great? I love it. I'm not. If you go to one of the mannequin groups that I'm in, I don't have a problem. This is just fine. But yeah, I got pretty cramped there for a while. I had half the studio space that I have now, and everything started coming back, and I was like freaking out. Yeah, you learn. I'm learning that I gotta either start selling or start promoting again a lot more. I kind of took a little break there for a while. I think we all did, and regrouped our lives and figured out what we needed to do. But
Right.
yeah, the smaller stuff is still fun, but a lot of people think that, oh, it's smaller, it's less expensive. It doesn't mean that it didn't take me just as much time as the larger stuff, people. Okay. It's just more detailed, that's all. Uh, so, it's a toss up. That's all.
I think that when people, they see something like one of your giant sculptures and like, obviously that might be out of their price range, but they want to support you as an artist, you do have smaller prints that could be in somebody's price range
Oh,
for
yeah.
the purchase. Like all the time. You've always made it like at least like I get what you're saying that you didn't have it in the first couple of shows, but I feel like you always try to do that because people are really stunned by like how like crazy and large everything is. And I think
I,
that like I've seen like people come in as far as an audience and they seem pretty comfortable coming up and talking to you about it and you seem pretty comfortable talking to them.
I, it's taken a long time, definitely. I think I hit at the first two, the first Unicorn Art Show and the first Gods and Monsters. I was kind of like in another world, getting overtaken by how much stuff was going on, and just it's overwhelming as a new artist to see this happen in front of you, and you're just like, oh my god. But yeah, I mean, a lot of you have helped me become more comfortable around people. Angel Hawari was just awesome. She kind of gave me a bunch of tips, about how to approach people, and then just being polite. I mean, is is basic human knowledge, obviously, but being polite to people, and if people see you talking to somebody or a couple other people, then they don't feel as nervous coming up to you. You know, I think when I started coming into the art scene, I would look at people like Nicholas Harper or you or just any of these artists you know that I've seen stuff before, but who never put a face to it, and think, oh my gosh, what a great, you put them on a different level, and that's why it makes it hard to approach people like that. And then when you're around them a little bit more or see them interacting with other people, you're more approachable, and you get more comfortable with people. And I just, I'm, if you want to come talk to me, I'm an open book. I've always said that. I no holds barred. You get what you get, honey. Sorry.
Well, what about so we talked about, your impression of, the art the gallery scene and then as audience and then like what you were doing and what you were learning. What about other artists like that you have met?
As far as like right in the beginning.
Like as peers and stuff, like do you feel like you gain like as like essentially becoming this like I almost want to say born again artist in some ways
Dude,
like something like I am now an artist and I am out in the world and like you're trying to figure out first off navigating yourself as an artist yourself and then you're
mm,
moving into like what is the marketing and like the business aspect of this but then you also have your peers.
yeah. And like, I think I know what you're saying. It's kind of like, you ask me if I feel like I'm a peer now, or if I'm still looking up to everybody.
You tell me now, I'm
Okay.
curious. You tell me.
Uh, you know what? I still look up to all of you guys, and all my artist friends, but I feel as I'm an equal peer. So I have something just as equal to bring to the table as you guys. And I feel that I've earned that spot by hard work. You know, you don't just do it by just being great. You can be, I know I've met a few artists that are really great and don't do anything with their work besides maybe one or two shows a year. And they're like, I don't get it. It's like, you got to be present. You got to be in. I don't just go and show art. I go to art shows. I go where the art is. You before I met you, I was hitting for the first 2 years. I was trying to hit everything that I could find that had art in it, trying to find people that were like myself. And it wasn't until, I ran into the Rogue Buddha, which I realized, oh, here's a start, definitely. And he was just the greatest guy to meet. It was just, it was a stepping stone into before I met you. And then I still, for like a month or two, yeah, it was just kind of disappointing. You'd go to all these art fairs and there's just like, where do I fit in? Where do I fit in? And then I got names from different artists at the Rogue Buddha, and I started looking them up on Facebook and friending them. And then eventually you know, opened the doors to Gods and Monsters show, and I went, oh shit, here's where you guys been, huh? I've been waiting for you fuckers. So yeah, it was like meeting my family for the first time, and I went up to that first person with the clipboard and I said, you better get me who's in charge here now. And that's how you got to do it. So
And now you're with us forever. Ha 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 ha.
yeah, I had no choice. You put me on your belt loop and dragged me around for a year. I'm just kidding. I enjoyed every minute of it. You showed me everything and pointed me in directions and made me parts of clubs and stuff. I was overwhelmed. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it though, and I was there for everything. So
I will say that I do think that that is my superpower is I'm like, oh, you need something? I probably know someone. Let me introduce you.
yeah,
But
yeah,
for also those people that, I mean, I realize that it's not happening exactly right now, but Raven also helps me host Creative Night, which is at the Geek Partnership Society. And I don't know if you saw Raven, but they came in to say hello on the comments. So they're still doing virtual Creative Night on Mondays from 6:30 to 9:30. And if anybody is looking for some safe social distancing as we hit into the winter months, they are going to be doing some reservations. So, but they are absolutely a backer of Raven. And I was thinking, Raven, can we start seeing some of your artwork, or I can share the screen?
you can start sharing the screen, and I'll try and get some stuff in line with the camera. All right.
Okay. So I like to have a drink for each of the artists, and people who know Raven know that he drinks Fresca. So tonight the drink of choice is Fresca, which is apparently it's hard to come by right now. So if you are out at your grocery stores and you see Fresca and you would like to hoard it on Raven's behalf and give it to him, he would be oh so grateful. So tonight, we can all raise our Fresca glass to Raven. Cheers.
So what do you want to talk about?
Uh, why don't we, well, right now, because like as we're showing the Zoom, you're pretty little with the sculpture in the background. So how about we kind of go through some of the images that are on Instagram?
Yeah, on my screen, I can't even see anything. So I don't know what I'm looking at for what you guys are seeing here.
So then how about I stop sharing and you can show us the sculpture that's in behind you first. And you can,
That's, how's that? Is that a little better? I can turn on some light. I can't see it that well.
I can see it. It looks good.
Okay. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. This is a little evil. He started out, I'm gonna grab it first. I had done two or three, and done two female sculptures, and I had done a horse that was kind of, you could say it's feminine, I guess. Everything of mine was starting to just be real, my friends call elegant looking, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
And so during the winter, I was like, well, I'm going to build one just for me. I'm going to build a boy. I was like, all right. So I found one of these at the hobby store. You can still get them there all the time. Can you see that pretty good?
Yeah. So, just so people understand that, like, you found a hobby horse and then you did what to it? What did you do to
This
that
is,
horse, Raven?
this is just a Briar, like a Briar plastic horse. Yeah. Uh, and then it's on my Instagram. I'm pretty sure of what I did to it. I did what I do to everything. I chopped up I took my angle grinder to it. I chopped it up literally into pieces. Cut the legs off, cut the head off, cut the body off. I cut most of it apart basically, and then I built a freestanding armature out of copper piping and wood, and started using. Mainly, I used the torso right in here for the from the horse at first, but then I flipped the legs backwards here for the upper rear thigh, and I put okay, so I flipped those that way, and then for the front ones, I flipped them this way, and I sanded that down to make a spike. Okay, everything else was put together with car parts, thrift store toys, um, electrical conduit. We have tent stakes. We have Halloween props. We have face masks. We have a skull that actually was made of two different skulls. One was like a monkey toy skull, and then I magic sculpted it together, and then I used um, I used seashells off a necklace from Michael's that look like little pointy seashell shards or whatever, and I put those up in there, and I kind of went nuts on it.
Raven, is there any way you can bring the phone closer so that we can kind of see some of the pieces that are like,
Sure.
uh, just with the black background, it's a little hard to see.
Oh, I can turn on the light too.
Well, I would bring it closer so that we can kind of gaze into all of those pieces that you're talking about. There we go. Slowly bring it around.
How's that?
Yeah, there might be a little lag
How's
in the,
that?
so just go very slow.
Okay. So yeah, the this tail actually was one of a blade from a Wolverine hand Halloween costume thing that I actually molded so I could make a bunch of them for other projects. The tail was like a skeleton from Halloween prop. These these were actually a coat or a fold away hanging system for a clothes in your closet so you get more room. I just thought they looked really neat with all the holes and everything in them. I did do some sculpting on the back legs. Of course, it's a he, right, Danielle?
Yeah, I pointed that out when he brought it in that I was like, Gods and Monsters. I was like, did you make a hair clip penis?
I said, of course I did, Danielle. Of course I did.
Because I believe at the time I usually use those, I have shorter hair now, but those are the hair clips that I use. So I noticed it first. That was the first thing that I saw out of everything. I'm like, for one time, I could figure out what a piece of like the upcycled material was from everything. So can you
So,
can you bring it closer to the head so that you can point out some of the mask and everything?
how's that? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is actually a mask inverted that I cut up to fit, and then I actually doubled up on it. I cut out slits with the Dremel in this part. This whole front section is actually of a different skull. This one's a normal like plastic Halloween skull that you can get for $5 online. This one was off of like I said, a toy game or something. I don't know, but it was just atrocious looking. So figured I had to put it on, and I put it on, and I thought, oh my God, it looks like a stinking monkey or something. But it all worked because once I started putting the magic sculpt on and fitting and shaping each of these teeth in, it looked too cool. I had to have it. So um And then I did invert another skull for the chest piece because I couldn't figure out what the heck I was going to fill this big space in. And usually things like that just kind of tend to happen to just work, you know. Wow, I got an extra skull sitting around. Why don't I invert it and put it in its chest? That would look really cool. Why not? You know?
Like sometimes wonder if you're like, those toddlers with those toys that's like, I'm gonna put the circle peg in the square hole. And
Yeah.
you're like, I'm so mad I can't put the circle peg in the square hole. Well, now the circle peg is gonna get jammed in that square hole.
Yeah, I just take my angle grinder and make it fit. That's all. You know.
We have a comment on the Facebook that, and forgive me, I didn't ask you about this, is that we at some point would like to hear about your inspiration for all of your pieces. So do you want to talk about Little Evil's inspiration?
Oh boy. You still see him there?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Um, Sometimes I don't have a plan other than I know I want to do something different. And like I said with this one, I wanted to make something for me, something that was just evil, just not elegant at all. Just you'd be scared and you would run away from it. Not like the other stuff that I do where you're just kind of like, oh, that's really beautiful. Um, but so yeah, I mean, I just wanted it to be, but it starts building itself. Once I started with the horse body, it was just like, okay, now I know I have something that's going to be a four-legged, like dog-like creature, and that's towards the end. I realized, oh, well, it's a chupacabra. You know, it has to be because there's nothing else that really resembles, and why not? It's but as far as inspiration, wow, beautiful, beautiful lines. With the other sculptures, it's all about the beauty. You start with if I start with a good mannequin, or if, like with him, once I found this whole line and even the slight bend in his head, that was right when I kind of figured out, okay, this is what it's going to be, and then I can go off that. My big inspirations as far as outside of the pieces are obviously H.R. Giger, huge inspiration. um, I had a lot of different stuff growing up. I loved Frank Frazetta, I loved Boris, I loved Brahm, which I just got into more recently. But I was a big car guy my whole life. I loved cars because I couldn't afford any cool cars, and just ended up just falling in love with the beautiful lines of something. So it's real easy for me to get inspired. Uh, like when you're doodling and you can doodle for hours and never like anything, and until you hit that one perfect line, perfect shape, perfect form, and you go, there, that's what I was trying to do the whole time. And it's tough to do unless you have that initial kind of oomph. It's easy with the mannequin. Even if she doesn't have the most perfect lines, I can sometimes make them. So,
I also
so
want one other thing that I know that you really like is that you are also a horror nerd, but you also really like Batman. And like I also really like Batman. And I always appreciate in a lot of your work, like it has like that armored, like, feel that like you're like, I will protect my beautiful things from the world. And it's like everything is just there. Oh, that looks amazing.
can you still see it without the light on?
Yeah, I can see it with
Okay.
the lights through the eyes and everything. And just to give you a heads up, Raven, where we got like 20 minutes left,
Okay.
roughly.
Okay.
I'm if I keep interrupting you, like I am sorry, I get
No,
it,
that's fine.
but
Matt Alex actually did have some inspiration. There was a there was a show that I was invited to do by Rachel Gerard to do the Vampires Ball with uh, for a friend of hers, and I was like, okay, Vampires Ball, I got to do a vampire themed mannequin, and so I didn't have a full mannequin at a time. I had this one, but it had an egg head on it. And I decided, well, that's all I could afford at the time. So I bought another head on the internet and kind of Frankenstein them together. And decided to go with the lights and everything. It never made it to the show, but it was a start, and I had something to go with. And every time I do one of these, I try and make it a little different. Grant Malin from Dark Energy, I'm sorry, that was her friend that invited us to do his the Vampires Ball. You know him. And so every time I do one of these, I try and do something a little different. I had the tail with Willow that was, 7 feet long, and how do you outdo that? I mean, it's a big key focal point on her. So with Mad Alice here, I just tried to go for elegant, clean, and then put some gauntlets of death and knives coming out of her wrists. And I thought that was just, yeah, that was kind of what tied it all together for me, you know. So I also did fishnet, which I had never done before on any of the other ones. Most of these are all grates from cars that I pieced together from different cars and bended, folded, cutted, and then glued actually into place. So that stuff always just takes a ton of time to do. And I also had Matt Davis help me with the lights on this one for the first time. This was the first mannequin that I put lights in.
So, I'm always curious because like it always sounds like you have so much material on hand. Like, do you just have bins and bins of like extra like body parts and things that like you go and grab from, or are you usually like from like a limited stock?
Now let's see. Can you see?
Yes. So are those all like maybe pieces?
I have that's just the stuff I keep on hand. The big stuff in the cars from the car parts is actually in a runoff part of my studio. I have 3 big bins. So I'm going to bring it back to this one since I kind of told everybody I was going to show them.
Yeah, do it.
So yeah, anyway, yes, not at first, because at first I didn't know what worked. And I was always like running back and forth to the junkyard. I spent a lot of money doing that and throwing a lot of parts back in that I didn't need or use or couldn't work with. So, but now I know what parts I need to do that exact thing and have a stock. But that doesn't mean, I mean, they're car parts. They're not going to be there forever.
Right.
Those cars eventually are all going to be gone. So I've had to look at new ways of doing stuff, especially now that I'm looking at doing. I'm working on wearables.
Mhm.
I'm working on 2 suits right now. So with a group of artist friends of mine, and so instead of going the rubber route with some of it, we're going to work with leather. You know.
Awesome. Because I feel like that's like as soon as you brought that mannequin out, I feel like women and men both were like, I want to wear this for myself. Was like the first piece of like audience that you got, and you're like, just look at my sculptures.
You guys drove me nuts. Yeah. Girls started coming up to me, and I was expecting, wow, that's really cool. No, some of the first things out of your mouths were, I want to wear that. And I would just look at them. I'd be like, okay, but screws are really going to fucking hurt. Okay. Cause I don't know how to make this shit wearable at the time, you know? But now it's like, yeah, okay. I finally sat down uh, the thing about it is none of it's I can do a lot of stuff. I can't do everything. I can, and I'm willing to learn stuff. I'm always willing to learn stuff as an artist. You should be. But so I'm not doing this alone. I have friends. I have help and people that are teaching and showing, and I'm helping direct and teach them stuff. So, it's a hand in hand thing, and that's what's going to make it work. Is teamwork really. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you something that you guys will really freak out on and really like.
If somebody wanted to come and learn something from you, how would you want to be approached by it? Like by humans?
Facebook Messenger, or yeah, friend me on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever. That's fine. I'm pretty easy to get in touch with on either one of those.
Sorry, I think I'm so mesmerized by how it's just rotating over and over again so that I can see what.
Well, you wanted to see it from every angle, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's, I mean, that's always like the hard thing is that with a lot of sculptures, like we, at least like when, because our shows get so busy, it's really hard to keep them in the middle of the room because we're so afraid, like, is somebody going to bump this? Like, we need it to be safe, So,
It's yeah, and now stuff like this I'm making display cases for.
nice.
No touch,
Yeah.
that's how it's got to go. Yeah, I am too. I mean, I have to lug these things around town all the time, or not. I used to lug them around town a lot. I really appreciated when they could find a home in a gallery and stay there for a couple of months or so. You know, that way I had a lot of stuff spread out at a lot of different places, so a lot of different people could look at it. It was really interesting. I had stuff in galleries where I never thought they would go over well, and they went over really well. It's my art tends to have a very wide, broad variety of people that like the style. So
So I don't think that people like totally understand sometimes that besides the art and the like, you know, um, all the things that come with being an artist, there's also storage when you're a sculptor or a sculptor. And like I've even met a couple sculptors that they started getting storage space like in, storage facilities to put their sculptures because it's not like, like you're saying, it's easier to have them at a gallery for a while because then you're not just like, crammed in with all of your buddies hanging out because then it's harder to make more sculptures, you know.
yeah, storage is a problem, and that's why I don't just do sculpture. I'm starting to work back on drawing and painting again, and you know, I'm still interested in doing more digital art. I've done a little bit. I do like it. I have a hard time staying in one place, so that the going out and finding stuff is always interesting and fun.
I'm going to share your Instagram just a little bit before we run out of time. I know that you
Sure.
did, but I'm just going to go through it slow. And then I'm going to run up to the top really quick. So, like, you can follow Raven Skull Rave on Instagram. And you also have a Facebook page too, but so that you can see all the pieces kind of there. Some of them are from shows. And then it's also your inspirations as well. Like, not all of this is.
Yeah, it's a kind of all over the place, but I do have a good majority of art there is mine. Some of it's of friends, some of it's promotional stuff. But yeah, you can get a pretty good feel of the different types of stuff I do right there.
And I'm still kind of going down through it just a little bit.
Yeah, Instagram I like to post like different times when I'm working on a project from beginning to end. A lot of the horses, the hobby horses that I tore apart, and there's different ones there of Little Evil. I really enjoyed working on him. I enjoy working on all of them, but yeah, there's Little Evil right there in the middle top. If you go back down, or go back up, that's the pile of Little Evil.
Right here.
Where you keep skipping it,
Sorry. I'll stop moving.
pointing at the screen like it's gonna make a difference.
Oh, I have
Uh,
the card.
it's okay. Just keep scrolling around. We'll
Okay.
look at stuff.
I just wanted to make sure that we had it up before, it comes down.
They can find it. Yeah, it was just funny, I thought, because right there in the middle. There's little evil.
It's a little horrifying when they're in and then
Yeah, it's fun. It's a great,
you've made jewelry too. This is what I have my
uh,
cursor for the jewelry.
yeah, I have done it. I don't know if I'm very good at it, but I dabbled at it. It was more of a learning experience for my casting and molding process. And it was stuff I had left over that I figured I might as well do something with it. So decided to make some jewelry. There's a dollhouse or a doll bed I made for somebody's dollhouse in there.
For my dollhouse, for my I actually put a little skeleton in it in honor of you.
Cute. That's great.
And I'm actually working on another haunted dollhouse because I've been watching a lot of horror movies this pandemic. So, okay, I'm gonna stop sharing and go back to you.
Sure.
Um, so let's talk about the pandemic, like as we're kind of moving out. You know, it's been not great. We'll just say it that way. I think we all know it's not great, but like, what have you been doing to like kind of keep yourself on task and keeping yourself disciplined to keep making artwork?
To keep making artwork. Well, the it was tough because we had creative night out obviously, and that stopped, and all the shows for the summer stopped. Going to see any shows stopped. And I think that's a big part of inspiration is when you go and you experience art and see life. And so what I did was I went back to what I enjoyed doing is building. I built the other half of the studio. I built a paint booth in there. I built another little storage room. I kept busy. I don't think I don't feel like you ever quit doing art. You just do it in different ways. So I did that. I decorated the heck out of this. I worked a good month on this, and to make it to where I was happy with it, putting exhaust fans in, putting lighting in, all that stuff. And then I started fixing my cars up. And during the pandemic, I got really bummed out right about the time of the riots hitting. And I
Mhm.
had gotten rid of my old truck, and I was down to one vehicle, which I figured this is all I need. Thinking like a normal adult, I don't need another car. I don't need another headache, even though I've had multiple vehicles in the last 5 years, always. And then the riots hit, and I went, you know what? I'm gonna do something that I usually wouldn't do, and I'm gonna go spend a little money on myself, and bought myself a present. I bought myself that '97 Camaro, and that made me feel really good.
You mean the
Um,
Batmobile because you actually bought a Batmobile.
I bought a Batmobile. Hell yeah!
Um,
So I've been pimping out my Batmobile, which to me is a beautiful piece of artwork all in itself. And every time I get in it, I smile. And if I'm happy, I will want to create art. But it's not always when I'm just happy either. I mean, you can be down. You can be. A lot of times I will make art when I am really mad, and I will put on the music, and I will pump stuff out. It just kind of depends. But I kept going with that stuff until the studio was done. That stuff was all done. My cars were all kind of to the point where I liked them. I personalized them, and I went, time to do some artwork. And I called everybody up that I was working on the wearables with and said, okay, I'm going to move forward with this. And if we got to take precautions and do things differently, then let's do that and figure out how to do it. And everybody was on board, and we are back at it, and I'm creating art again. I'm doing a commission for a very dear friend of mine of stuff that I usually don't do, but it's great practice for me. And I've got, Jesus Christ, I've always got something going on. I'm just like all of you guys. I got like 10 projects that I could be working on. So I just keep doing my normal daily stuff and coming home and try and knock a little off each one, and keep going till the next day. COVID's tough. It's not easy. It's good to reach out to people, but being that we're isolated, introverts, it's hard. But those long stretches get really hard for us. I mean, we are pack animals, I believe, and we need touch, human touch, and human contact. So but things will get better. We adapt, as you say, and I totally believe that. So it's just getting past the, is this happening? No, this is happening. Now we got to move forward, and we can't let it affect what, our art or our goal. It's just how do we get to that goal in different ways? You know what I mean? So
Yep. Yes.
so it's all a change of how you see things. That
Um, you might after this want to go through some of the Facebook comments that you have just to make sure that you follow up with a couple people, Raven. But from one person is, what's your favorite art piece? And I'm going to do that as two pieces. What's your favorite art piece that you have made? And then what's a different favorite art piece that you have that's not yours?
that's not mine. Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Uh, mm, my favorite right now is evolution. No, I can't say that. It's got to be Willow the Flower. She was my first full body. She has so much history, and I could probably do 20 minutes just talking about her, and the journey that she's kind of taken me on from. She's been all over, man. So my favorite art pieces are from. I don't have his name offhand. I don't think. I'll get his last name wrong. Anyway, he's well, HR Geeker is obviously my favorite. You know, so my favorite of his is definitely the Xenomorph. So I think that kind of answers it, even though it's kind of vague. It's not
I'm
the
totally
David.
putting you on the spot with these. And then what helps you create more network connections besides friending other artists on Facebook? That's a hard one right now because we're trying to all be safe with what we're doing. I mean, Creative Night has gone virtual so that you
Yes.
can talk that way. I'm going to start having some more otherworldly arts, social hours, art making time, so that people please do that, especially as we head into the winter months. But what's a suggestion from you?
For more networking suggestions,
Yep.
don't just focus on art sites. If you're trying to connect with artists, look at other things that you're interested in and put that out there that you are an artist. I'm on a Camaro group. I'm on a sci-fi group. I'm on a bunch of different groups that have nothing. Well, some of them have a lot to do with art, but in different ways. They're not artists themselves. But I will go on there and I will talk about the stuff that's relevant to the group, become part of the group, and then I will bring out that, I mean, obviously I have to bring out that I'm an artist. It's kind of inevitable. If you know me, you're going to know that I'm an artist. And that's a new way to make different connections. And that's one way to, you never just think that art, if I just only talk to art people, eventually somebody's, I'm going to work my way up and meet the right people and become, get the job I want or get the position I want or whatever, become more famous or more known or whatever. There's all different avenues. And I think just being inquisitive, being very inquisitive and open-minded and open to different ideas is always the best thing. Don't just focus on the goal right at hand. Focus about all of it. Enjoy it. If you're looking into stuff that doesn't have any interest in you, then that's work, and you don't need to look into it. Look into things that you enjoy, other than just, like I said, other than just your art. You'll probably run into other artists. You know,
Yeah.
there's a way.
Yep. We will adapt. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we will.
And it's um we are right at the hour mark.
Perfect.
Do you want to say anything else?
No, I want to say thanks for everybody for joining us. Really, really, really happy about it. This first time doing something live like this with my friend Danielle. She makes it real easy. I apologize if there's bad shots or anything. I'd like to work on it. I'm not very savvy. I'm doing this all off my phone, people. So, but if you want to have have another one of these and look at some other stuff, I'd be more than happy to come back, Danielle.
Yep, we can. And another thing is that, go to Raven's Instagram and his Facebook and, friend him, check out his art. There's a lot there. There's a lot to look at, and like I know it's a little hard to see the Instagram as I was scrolling through everything, but
It's that one's a difficult one to follow when you're on different ends, you know.
and I feel you on the technology thing. I was on an artist live stream yesterday for a different panel, and I'm like, this woman had a light. And I was like, man, do I need to start buying a microphone and a light and all this other stuff? And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, I think I do.
you do.
Like,
You do.
if we have to keep doing this, then I think I'm going to have to. But
Why not? It's fun. It really is, you know. It's great. And I hope that somebody out there, if you got any questions, you know, get in touch with me, Danielle, anybody, and we'll try and answer them. You know, just put yourself out there. If you don't ask, you won't know, right?
Raven, you're going to Creative Night most Mondays, aren't you?
I'm trying to make an appearance. Yes, I have been busy, but then I kind of got sick there for a little bit. So, but I'm better now.
And those are virtual through the Geek Partnership Society. If you guys want to like hunt Raven down um, with spears and sticks and get him and talk to him about all those other things. But otherwise, I hope you have a good night.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Take care,
Okay.
Danielle.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.